Gaming as a vegan. It's been roughly 3 seconds since I mentioned the word vegan, so I have to mention it again. I'm vegan. A question I sometimes see pop up in the r/vegan subreddit is, what do vegans think about games? And what do they think about killing animals in games? And note, this isn't a guide. It's more how I view games, and what I share with most other vegans. I thought I'd answer this from my own perspective, and share how others feel. First of all, it's important to define vegan. Oxford defines vegan as a person who does not eat any food derived from animals, and who typically does not use other animal products. There is however different types of vegans, which is an important point to make here. Myself and many other vegans who are about ethics practice a thing called veganism. Veganism is defined by the Vegan Society as a philosophy and way of living which seeks to exclude as far as is possible and practicable all forms of exploitation and cruelty to animals for food, clothing or any other purpose, and by extension, promotes the development and use of animal-free alternatives for the benefit of animals, humans and the environment. In dietary terms, it denotes the practice of dispensing with all products derived wholly or partly from animals. The other types of vegans include health and environment, but both should be referred to plant-based as to avoid confusion, since those who are plant-based are not really about avoiding animal products due to contradictions and selfishness. Believe it or not, anyone who legitimately cares and understands health and environment would practice veganism themselves, because that is the best way to be healthy and save the planet. You can attempt to debate this in the comments, or just utterly fail to make a point. Anyway, back to the question. What do vegans think about games? I'm completely fine with it. I know the sort of questions people have. Is it wrong to kill an animal in a game? Does it make you feel weird? To me, no. It's just like an alternative to a food or lifestyle product. The art of the product is the same, but it's not from the thing it's usually derived from. For example, soy milk is the alternative to cow's milk, derived from soybeans. So what's the point of gaming? What is it the alternative to? It's a good question, but has a simple answer. Human supremacy. And we all feel the same way. If we are talking about violence and action, of course. People like to feel powerful, or feel good at something. This is why we lose ourselves in games. It's a power fantasy. But more importantly, we want to have fun. You don't have to harm others to enjoy yourself, which is the entire point of video games. You no longer have to play tag it with adults, because you can play it with avatars instead. Not to mention games allow you to be someone you're not. That's kinda sus, NGL. To answer the question simply, it's not wrong to kill an animal in a game. I'm completely okay with that in games, because nobody is harmed for it. Whether it's putting a booster on the ass of a cow in Just Cause, or hunting in an open world game or simulator, or eating from the animals in Minecraft, it really doesn't matter. One of my favorite games of all time is The Witcher 3. The game has so many good things about it. One of the things I loved about that was the exploration. And Roach. That horse. That damned horse. What we have to remember is this is a fictional world. Horse riding in this world, to my knowledge, is not harming a real horse. And if Roach is somehow based on a real horse, I have a few questions. But in the event that happens, sorry, it's a sacrifice that has to be made. Whilst it is obsolete to be using a real horse, we have to remember technology has come a long way and we can actually animate things through video, rather than motion capture. It has to be video, I think, because there's no way to motion capture a horse, especially Roach. However, some vegans do not like violent games. To be entirely honest, I can understand that. Part of what made me vegan was empathy. Understanding is the key to finding the truth. People, and likewise vegans, are disturbed by the concept of violence. It's a harrowing subject that if you see it in real life, it's pretty traumatizing, which is why we wish nobody to be in that situation, let alone objectified as products. There are games that do allow for animals to not be harmed within the game though. Looking at Minecraft, it is entirely possible to be vegan in that game. I did this several times a few years ago, where I just lived off bread, because it was easier to make, and didn't harm animals. It's a cool concept, and adds an interesting twist. Speaking personally now, in Minecraft, I'd rather breed the animals for the gameplay advantage, since no actual animals are harmed. I remember steaks being the best for hunger. Honestly, it has been quite a while since I played Minecraft. So what games do I play as a vegan? And likewise other vegans? With me, it's more complicated now, because of how I view ethics across all sentient life. The types of games I do like are third person and first person shooters. I have thousands of hours across those. I also like games where creativity can be explored. I love puzzle games with a unique concept. Two of my favorite puzzle games of all time are Monument Valley and Portal 2. Just incredible games with a unique concept and a ton of puzzles to solve. I also like the occasional visual novel, mainly Danganronpa games. I played the spin-off called Ultra Despair Girls. That was an alright game. I used to play World of Warcraft, but I got bored, and also came to hate Activision Blizzard for a reason I'll explain later. I also like Pokemon to an extent. I like turn-based games given it has something appealing about it. Final Fantasy never appealed to me, whereas Pokemon does. I love Pokemon because they are cute, and in a way badass. I used to love the anime as well. I have 4 posters in front of me, and 3 plushes different Pokemon, and a few shirts. It's not my favorite franchise necessarily, in fact, it has become one of my hated. But what keeps me enjoying the Pokemon themselves is the fact that there is such an expansive universe with likable characters and Pokemon, as well as a game format that works. I enjoyed the anime until Generation 8. Same with the games. I think there are quite a lot of cute Pokemon. I also love how the world of Pokemon is also designed so that Pokemon do not have to battle necessarily. As for my game of the year in 2020, it has to be Doom Eternal, and it will be a game I come back to when I need WoW crack. WoW crack is a term for World of Warcraft addicts who need a dosage of the game to get through the day. I experience a lot of issues in that regard because I hold the RPG aspect quite closely to my heart. I like having characters that look cool and ride unique mounts. But because of that addicting nature of collecting and seeing appealing looking armor and mounts, it is something that leaves me somewhat dissatisfied and would require me to play the game to satiate that thirst. Whereas with Doom Eternal, everything is earned in game and at any pace you want. I found Doom was quite evolutionary with its gameplay and the engine. Oh god. I have a GTX 970 and this game ran like a dream at maximum settings with texture pool at high. On top of that, I like the sense of humor that Doom has and the storytelling to an extent. My gaming history is quite expansive though. Starting from a young age, I played Sonic the Hedgehog, then played games like Streets of Rage. Eventually the 3D era blew up and I played Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 and Sonic Heroes. I somehow got into Grand Theft Auto San Andreas on the PC, and even the multiplayer mod of that game. As I was going into my teens, I got addicted to Burnout Paradise and other racing games. Mario Kart Wii was incredible. I used to play The Sims, and a weird game called Crazy Egbert. After that, I found Minecraft. After that, Left 4 Dead 2. Left 4 Dead 2 sparked my love for first-person shooters because I found the concept of being able to shoot zombies and play them to be very fun. Eventually, that led me to a creative game like Garry's Mod and another game called Team Fortress 2, of which I have a few hours in each. Eventually, I would move on to other games like Portal 2, and also long after that, Grand Theft Auto 5. I played a lot of GTA V Online. I also played a bit of CS:GO. Then I turned to Overwatch. That game was great for a while, but it slowly burned me out with the lack of new maps and poorly designed heroes. I also began to play Heroes of the Storm. I tried Diablo 3, it was alright. I tried StarCraft Remastered when that came out, and I hated it because I didn't get how to play it. Then I tried World of Warcraft. Big mistake. I got into Pokemon at some point. It was around the time I was in college. I watched over 600 episodes of the anime over 2 months, then played the games on 3DS. For those wondering, yes, I tried Animal Crossing. I find it too boring. I want to point out that I don't draw a line with where games go. If it's about torturing children, as long as that's fictional, I don't care. I want games to explore those aspects because people who have those curiosities or urges to do something like that in real life need an alternative. This is one of the things veganism taught me about life. Truth is important. How we achieve a greater good is very important. It's why I disagree with certain laws that ban certain types of things that could help people, like drugs, like certain types of pornography, similarly with what they don't illegalize, which very clearly is more dangerous. The point is, I like fictional stories and games that explore aspects of life that we normally don't or have issues with, but can also serve as an alternative to others. That's why I was so impressive with the story of Danganronpa. It was extremely creative with enjoyable, interesting and unique characters, and philosophy that makes you scratch your head and think I'm so dumb. The concept of the game is actually terrifying. If blood and gore doesn't scare you, that game definitely will. It also has an amazing soundtrack, which actually I'll use as the video's background music. I love it. A lot has changed over the years. I've played different games. I'm open to trying other genres. But more importantly, I'm more open to playing smaller games. I'm not necessarily a multiplayer type of guy, which I guess is why I found World of Warcraft so frustrating. Part of that comes down to my social anxiety. Going vegan didn't really massively change the way I play games. Until a few months ago at least. For those wondering, I'm bothered by the terrible industry practices like capitalism, microtransactions, live services, subscription models, and loot boxes, and the workplace abuse. Here's my stance on it. Which one is more important to get rid of? It's a good question to ask, since I see a lot of complaining about these issues, but not enough solutions. I watch Jim Sterling on YouTube, who makes good videos about gaming and the games industry. Whilst I agree with a lot of points, I'm always left asking back, quote, what's the solution? To which everyone just kinda looks away and pretends they didn't hear that. So I had to figure out for myself what it was I needed to do. At first, I thought it was boycotting. I agree that it seems hopeless to attempt that due to overwhelming numbers of people buying these games anyway. But I would have to disagree. There is nothing we can do. That is the defeatist mentality. You've admitted defeat before trying. With capitalism, you have to campaign for governments to disallow jobs that pay a lot more money than most of the employees working there get. A CEO shouldn't be paid billions. It should be in the thousands at the most. There is just no good reason to pay more than they deserve, whilst taking money out of the salaries of others who work harder jobs. With workplace abuse, I take issue with it, of course, but it isn't new. The thing is, many people forget that this happens anywhere you go. It happens in charities, whether you want to believe it or not. The reason I can't bring myself to say that, quote, stop workplace abuses, because it isn't going to stop. It's happened for years. It has, to my knowledge, decreased, but it isn't a massive issue, let alone should it be a public issue. Go to the police first, not the public. With regards to microtransactions and loot boxes, I hate them with a passion. Given the damage it has caused myself in Team Fortress 2, Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch, and World of Warcraft, and yes, Geo to an extent, maybe GTA V Online too, it has put my bank account balance to zero multiple times. And it sucks. The problem with live service games with additional transactions is they are predatory. I have no problems with a free-to-play game having services, much like Heroes of the Storm does. The problem comes when that service is gameplay affecting, which the majority of them unfortunately are. I think cosmetics to a greater extent are gameplay affecting due to dopamine effects and the industry garbage they spew out, saying back, quote, it's only cosmetic. It's not only cosmetic. It's gameplay too. In my experience in Team Fortress 2, I found whenever I got a new item that I wanted, I was so happy and inspired. It made me play better. I felt more confident. I noticed that in Overwatch 2. I used to hate playing Genji, then I got that Oni skin, and suddenly I was just godlike. But not once did I push a payload. The point is, microtransactions and loot boxes in a game are dangerous. Rewards should be locked to playing the game, not a paywall. This was something I praised Doom Eternal over, and The Witcher 3. It brings into question when it is necessary to charge for something, and when it is not. I've seen anecdotes from children, well, the parents, and adults, who have spent a lot of money on these games, essentially robbing them of all their money. And it isn't a specific issue like people have too much money to spend, or backquote it's a choice. It's more that it's exploitive in nature, to people who may not be as fortunate as others, and have actually gone into debt, due to how predatory and attractive these things are. Loot boxes are quite obviously gambling. You may be awarded for it, but it isn't a full house. It isn't the jackpot, and that's the issue with the games that have markets as well as these sorts of transactions. Part of why I was attracted to bright items was because of my autism and sensory issues, most likely. I like bright vibrant things, and the various flashing effects that happen when you open a loot box. That part of me was exploited in those games. I wish I had understood that sooner. Microtransactions and loot boxes need to go. As a result of that, I have boycotted games with microtransactions and loot boxes. I'm done with them. They're unplayable for that reason. Because it also isn't vegan. Remember the definition of veganism? To avoid exploitation and cruelty to animals for any purpose. Animals includes humans. So that is where I stand on the games industry as a vegan. With that said, if anyone has any questions about anything, I'd be happy to answer them down in the comments. As for why I became vegan, I'll sum it up. Started as an appeal to nature fallacy, then it evolved into the ethics, then it evolved to Super Saiyan ethics, where I've become an abolitionist and a realist, which when combined, became unbeatable. It's worth exploring that side of ethics due to how powerful it is. I also know that, if I was on the shit end of the stick, like many animals in animal agriculture are, I would not want to be in that situation. I do not want to be associated with industries that are cruel and exploitative to non-human animals. Otherwise I'd have to confess to being a slave owner and animal abuser, which certainly isn't something to be proud of given our moral obligations and survival situations currently.